Try again.
Okay, we're live. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar. This is for a vacancy we currently have advertised for a principal lawyer. Just before we start the webinar, just a few bits of housekeeping. This has been organised as a live event. All participants are here anonymously. We have a Q&A, which you may answer questions throughout. So depending on your screen, it should be located on the right hand side. We will keep an eye out throughout the webinar just to make sure what's coming through, and we'll answer at appropriate times. Sorry. Please do ask questions as we go through, and we'll pick them up either during the webinar or at the end of the webinar. Before we start, I'm just going to get the panel to introduce themselves today. So I'm Jenny Scott, I work in HR. Natalie, can I pass to you first, please? Just introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Yes, you can, Jenny. Good morning, everybody. My name's Natalie Prosser. I'm the CEO here at the OEP.
Ray, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Ray Purdy. I'm Head of Legal Research and Analysis.
Kate.
Yep. Morning, everyone. My name's Kate Tandy. I'm the Head of Litigation and Casework here at the OEP.
And I'm John Pound. I'm the HR manager in the OEP, and I'm running the slides today.
Okay, lovely, thank you. So just to look at the format for today for the webinar, we're going to have an introduction from Natalie about the OEP and what we're looking for. We're then going to move on, and Ray's going to talk about the role and the functions of the OEP and the General Counsel. And Kate's going to talk about the role that we've advertised. We're then going to have a little look at the application process. And as I say, there's opportunity to ask questions throughout the whole webinar, so please do pop your questions in the chat. The session is being recorded for those who are unable to attend today, and we will make the recording available. And just as the very final, very important point before we move on, this webinar is not a substitute for the full job description. Please do read the job description thoroughly before making an application. This is just some supplementary advice, a chance to meet us, ask some questions, find out a bit more about the OEP and the role. Please do read the full job description before applying. Okay, without further ado, I'll hand over to Natalie.
Thank you very much, Jenny. And firstly, I want to say I'm so pleased that you are here today to hear about this very exciting role with us at the OEP. There has never been a better time to join our organisation. You may know that the OEP is a really new organisation. We were set up in 2021. And we've not been fully operational for even 2 years yet. And that culture of us being new, growing and dynamic is very, very strong with us at the OEP. We have an absolutely essential job to do at the OEP. It's our job to protect and improve the environment through the critical role of holding government and public authorities to account. And you may have seen already some of our work doing exactly that. Our legal team plays an absolutely essential role in enabling our organisation to deliver on our remit. They are a very prominent and influential part of our organisation, and that is not at all surprising when you look at the criticality of environmental law in relation to everything we do. And as a member of our legal team, the work that you will do will touch across the whole range of work that we are doing. Now, at the OEP, we're looking for a really diverse range of skills and experience, and we work in a very multidisciplinary, joined-up way. And if you're the kind of lawyer who enjoys rolling your sleeves up and working really on the front line of environmental protection, then that's what we have to offer here at the OEP. Really importantly for me personally as CEO, but also for our people at the OEP, our culture is one which embraces new ideas, creative thinking, but most importantly, the ability to work well with a range of other really exciting, dynamic people. And every single person at the OEP has the opportunity to personally make a real and significant difference, both within the organisation, but more importantly, externally through the impact of our work. And that is especially true of our legal team. And I know the guys will talk a little bit more about our new legal research functionality, but we've created this function because we really are working on the cutting edge of the development of new environmental law, and what an exciting thing to do. I'm a solicitor by background, and I am constantly jealous of the work that our lawyers get to do at the OEP. I would have given my teeth for work of the kind of interest, impact and visibility that our legal team work on. John, if you could move us on to the next slide, please. Now this slide, and you'll see our chair, Dame Glenys Stacey there, reflects the absolute commitment we have as an organisation to our people. I say all the time that the OEP is its people. We stand and fall, or we succeed or fail by how well our people can be supported and enabled to do the magnificent work that they do. And I hope that makes this a really interesting organisation to be part of. We're not all that big. We're about 80 staff at the moment. So if you come and work with us, you have the opportunity to really get to know everybody and feel very much part of that very enthusiastic, committed, knowledgeable team. I think the OEP is simply the best place you could ever work, and you might say that I would say that, wouldn't I? But I am personally invested in it being the very best place for all of our staff to work, because without our staff, without their commitment and without their talent, we simply won't succeed in our mission. So I hope that sounds interesting to you. I hope it sounds appealing and something that you would be excited to be part of. And if that's the case, please do listen to the team here as they talk about this particular role. And of course, we'd be very interested to hear from you. That's it from me. I'm going to hand over to the guys who can tell you, I'm sure, all of the things that you want to know. Please do ask questions in the Q&A. This is an opportunity for you to find out everything about this role and the organisation that I hope will help shape your decision to apply to join us. So Jenny, as chair, back to you.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Okay, so we're going to hand over now and speak a little bit about the role and the functions of the OEP and the General Counsel. Kate, is this you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, handing over to Kate. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jenny, and thanks, Natalie, for that very inspirational opening. And having been at the OEP now for nearly 2 years, I can confirm it is the best place to work. It's certainly the best place I've ever worked. So just going to talk a little bit more about what the OEP is and just build on a little bit of what Natalie was saying. So as you can see from the slide there, we're a small non-departmental public body. We operate in England and Northern Ireland, and we also cover reserve matters, so any matters that the UK government undertakes for all of the home nations. And so we're sponsored by DEFRA and DAERA, but we are entirely independent from government. That is written very clearly in the Environment Act, which is what sets us up, and the statutory powers that we have are set out in the Environment Act and broadly fall into 4 key areas. We have, overall, our objective is to contribute to environmental protection and the improvement of the natural environment. We do that by holding public bodies and government to account, and in doing that, the way that we do that is through a combination of reporting functions. So we have several reporting functions relating to the government's environmental improvement plan, progress it's making towards meeting the goals within that plan, and also long-term statutory targets that are set under the Environment Act. So that's a very core part of our role, and actually our latest report on that will be published next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then we also have a monitoring environmental law function, an advisory function, and an enforcement function where we look at compliance with environmental law by public bodies. So I think that's probably a good overview of what we do broadly at the OEP, but probably the bit you'll be more interested in is, well, where does this role fit in, and what's the function of the General Counsel Directorate? So as you can see there, we've got the structure of the team currently is that we have our General Counsel, Peter Ashford, and then there are currently 3 heads of function, of which Ray and I are 2. So as said at the beginning, I'm the head of litigation and casework, Ray's the head of legal research and analysis, and then we have Helena Gautrin, who's our head of environmental law. And so we broadly head up those functions, and then the principal lawyers, which we currently have 10, will work across all of the functions within the OEP. As Natalie mentioned at the beginning, given the nature of our role, it's very focused on environmental law. So the lawyers really do get involved in all projects. And I think that's a particularly unique aspect of what the lawyers do here at the OEP, is we're very integrated into the project teams, working in that multidisciplinary way that Natalie mentioned. We provide legal advice and governance input across all of the functions, and we're really key in supporting that decision making. The board at the OEP has a lot of decision making powers and duties, and therefore there's good opportunity in this role to get exposure to that senior level decision making. And I think that's all I will say, so I don't steal any of Ray's thunder, but he's going to talk a bit more about the actual role itself and what we're looking for. So please do feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.
Hello, do you want to move on to the next slide, John? Basically, the role is producing many different sorts of things. It's not boring. There's lots of different kind of functions to it, and each of the lawyers that actually work in the team can expect different opportunities to work on, where we deliver legal advice, research, analysis in connection with the implementation of environmental laws. And one of the interesting things on that is that there's a lot of other people who work here with specialisms in different areas. So I'm working with a specialist in waste at the moment. We have specialists in water and nature. So it's a really interesting mix of interdisciplinary working. We prepare advice to government on proposed changes to environmental law and other matters. We lay reports before Parliament and the Assembly on the implementation of environmental law. And we work with our complaints team to receive and analyse allegations of public authority failures to comply with environmental law. So that's very much a bit similar to the function of the European Commission, where they get complaints and they investigate the legality. And we also support colleagues across the OEP's other business activities, such as corporate and governance issues. I think I should emphasise the kind of breadth of the role in terms of environmental laws. There's a whole variety of different things we can look at. At the moment, people are thinking about water, nature, waste. There's many different areas. So I find that one of the most interesting things about working here. The team also acts as the OEP's legal centre of excellence, and it provides training and guidance to non-technical staff to develop the wider legal capacity of the organisation as a whole. If you want to go on to the next slide. So you have to be qualified to practice as a solicitor, barrister or chartered legal executive in England and Wales, and have proven experience of advising on environmental law matters and or UK public law. And I think our backgrounds here as lawyers are all quite different, really. My background was, I was an environmental lawyer in academia. There's people from Client Earth, there's people that have been solicitors and barristers, there's people that have been lawyers for the Environment Agency. So we come from a different range of legal backgrounds. You have to have the ability to advise confidently at senior management and board level. You have to have reliable legal judgment and critical thinking, with the ability to analyse and advise on complex legal issues within strategically significant and challenging projects. You have to have excellent communication skills and able to present legal technical material in a clear and compelling manner, both orally and through drafting written material such as legal advice and reports. You have to be flexible and adaptable. The role is quite flexible in terms of the work, both in terms of what we focus on and the hours and things. And you have to be happy to work in a continuously learning and improving environment, to work across a range of projects and change direction quickly in response to changing demands. But I think that's one of the kind of key strengths of this role, really, is that it certainly isn't boring, and you can certainly learn on the job and learn about new areas. You have to have strong planning and organisational skills to manage caseload, balancing conflicting demands, an ability to think creatively and strategically to see the bigger picture, and to assess the impact of changes in the wider landscape on the OEP and your legal advice. I'm probably quite biased, but I do think that it's probably the most interesting collection of environmental lawyers in the country here, and I'm certainly, I haven't been here very long, maybe about 4 months, but I've been really impressed by the quality of the work and everything that's going on here. The person specifications and qualifications, we've just finished, so if there's any kind of more questions about some of those, please put them in the chat and we can answer them. Am I doing this one as well?
No, I'm doing this one.
No.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Ray. That's great. Okay, we've got no questions yet in the chat, so we'll just carry on. Going to have a little look now about the application process and how to apply. So for this role, you'll be asked to complete a CV, which is going to detail your work history and your qualifications. You'll be asked for a 750-word maximum statement of suitability, detailing how you meet the person specification in the advert. Sorry, tripping over my own words there. Once you've submitted your application form, it will be marked by an interview panel, and if you're successful, if your application wants to be progressed, you'll go through to interview stage. Unfortunately, we're not able to offer feedback at application stage if you're not successful in getting an interview. Interviews for this role will be based in Worcester. They will be in-person interviews, so you'll have an opportunity to come to our brand new lovely office and see where we're based and meet us in person. And just to confirm that travel and subsistence is not paid for travel to interviews by us. Also, sorry, I've just missed a point. At the interview, you may have a presentation or an additional exercise which will be used to assess you. Details of this, if it's required, will either be sent prior to interview, or you'll have plenty of time to prepare for that, should it be required. Okay, next slide, please, John. Okay, so this role is based in Worcester. So all GB employees are contractually based to the Worcester office. We support a blended working model, and I can confirm it is very flexible. It's a really good feature of working for the OEP. We support a combination of office and home working, which is dependent on business and personal circumstances. The expectation for office attendance in Worcester is 40% of the week minimum. And if you are Worcester-based contractually in GB, travel and subsistence is not paid for your travel to the office because it's your contractual base. We do have employees in Northern Ireland. There's only a handful. These employees are home-based, but this role is not open to Northern Ireland on this occasion. It's just to be aware that we do have a few employees over there. They do have a touchdown space in Northern Ireland, an office space that they can meet in for collaborative working. And just one thing to add, if the candidate's an internal candidate, they retain the right to current contractual location unless GP restrictions apply, and home working contracts are not issued for GB-based staff as standard. Salary, starting salary for grade 7 is 51,626. We have a civil service pension, so although our employees are public servants, we are entitled to a civil service pension. It's a very generous pension, offering about 27.9% employer contribution rate. It's a good perk of working for the OEP. And we offer 25 days annual leave, rising to 30 days after 5 years. So you get 1 day a year, for one day extra for each year of service over the 5 years. I've just seen a question pop up. The advert indicates that part-time working is possible. That's right. Yes, that is right. The job advert was open to permanent, part-time, I can't remember all the different contracts, flexible working, job share. Yes, we are open to part-timers. What happens if you put your application form in, and if you're successful at that point, you talk about what you'd like your part-time hours and working arrangements to be. We obviously have to factor in business need within any request for part-time working. But it is favourably considered. We have a lot of part-time workers. I'm part-time. So yes, it is open to part-time, so please do apply. Okay, just to also emphasise that these aren't all the benefits of working for the OEP, so please do read the job description. There are more benefits listed in the job description and the candidate pack associated with it. Okay, just in terms of timelines, so the closing date is 23:55 on Sunday the 28th of January. The SIFT will commence from Monday the 29th of January, and we anticipate interviews will be from approximately the 5th of February. And just to emphasise that these are indicative dates and may be subject to change. Also depends on how many applicants we have as well and how long it takes to sift an interview. So indicative dates at this stage. Okay, just a few application tips, things we've picked up in the past, just to help you. Okay, so in your personal statement, really focus on the person specification. That's what we're assessing your personal statement against. Almost use it as a checklist. Give us examples of how you meet that criteria. Don't just make claims, actually demonstrate how you meet that criteria within your personal statement by providing examples. At interview, you will be assessed on behaviours. I highly recommend that you read the Civil Service Success Profiles document. The link is in the advert. It's also on the below if you want to take a note of it. Have a look for each of the behaviours that are being assessed at interview for this job if they are in the job description. Have a look about what we're expecting within each of those behaviours. It will help you come up with your examples and be able to provide good examples. In terms of actually at interview and structuring your responses, we recommend using the STAR format, so situation, task, action, result, or CAR, which is context, action, result. In your answers, it's very hard to do and very easy to slip up. Use I rather than we. We want to know about you and what you did, not your team as a whole necessarily. So try to use the word I. It can be quite difficult, I know, because you're selling yourself, but do use the word I. And I highly recommend that you do a Google research because it will provide a lot of information on using behaviours or competency-based interviewing, give you lots of hints and tips, examples of questions and practice. So highly recommend you do that. Okay, so right, we're coming towards the end of the webinar now. So if you have any questions, please do use the Q&A function. If you don't want to ask a question here, please do email us at recruitment@theoep.org.uk and we'll endeavour to get back to you as soon as we can. Okay. Okay, I can't see anything coming through. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything. If we just give it a minute or so to see if anyone does want to ask a question. Does anyone want to add anything at all?
Yes, Jenny, I think someone had asked about how we deal with Northern Ireland law, and we have two Northern Ireland qualified lawyers within the team. So we have two principal lawyers who are Northern Ireland qualified, so they can cover the Northern Ireland aspect, although they're also both England and Wales qualified, so they can help us with the other work as well. So yeah, just to cover that point.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. I can just see there's a second part to the question. We focus on the person spec in the personal statement rather than the behaviours. Yes, that's correct. So the personal statement, when you actually go on to complete your application form, there'll be a question in there, and it says something along the lines of using the person specification to show and demonstrate how you meet the person specification in your personal statement. So yes, the person specification is about the behaviours. The personal statement is about the person specification. Sorry, too many P's and too many S's there. Rather than the behaviours. Behaviours will be assessed at interview. I hope that's clear, sorry. Okay, right. So I'll just repeat the email address. So John, could you move to the last slide actually, please, because it's got the details on. Okay, so just to reiterate, application deadline is at 23:55 on the 28th of January. And if you have any further questions, you can contact us on recruitment@theoep.org.uk. If nobody has any more questions, we shall wrap up, and the webinar will be made available on the website for anyone who wants to rewatch it. Oh, we just had another question. Kate, can I ask you to?
Yep. Sure. So we don't specify a level of PQE because really it's about the experience that you've had, but I would say this is quite a senior role, so it's probably not suited to a newly qualified, probably looking more 2 to 3 years plus PQE, but it does depend on the person and the experience you've had. I don't think we kind of put too much stall in PQE. There's lots of different ways of qualifying. There's lots of different experience that people could have had. But just as a rough guide, it is a fairly senior level role. So probably not for newly qualified unless you have a lot of kind of pre-qualification experience that's relevant in environmental or public law.
Okay, thank you. And there is another question here about the Civil Service Portal in Part 1 and Part 2 of the application. Yeah, so when you apply, you have to fill in Part 1 first, which is kind of like your personal details. And then as soon as you submit that, yes, you get Part 2. You are able to go in and out of Part 2 to add it. I mean, personally, when I do a job, I always apply for a job, I always do it in Word first, and then I actually just fill in the application afterwards. You can copy and paste in your personal statement, and you can copy and paste in your CV. It's probably the easiest way to do it. But yes, it is immediate. It does come up straight away. You can go in and out of it, but please do be aware once you've hit that submit button, it is submitted for sifting. So don't hit submit until you're ready, but it will save for you to edit.
Is it worth? Sorry, Jenny. You were probably going to go on and address the second part. Apologies. But we don't actually. The Part 1 is submitted, but we on the panel don't look at that for sifting. The Part 2, your actual application is what is sifted, rather than the information you put in Part 1, which isn't actually looked at by us, but obviously is part of the civil service recruitment process of checking that you're eligible to apply, and gathering data for their purposes. Jenny, I think I'm right in saying that.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I didn't mean to be misleading. You have to submit Part 1, but as John says, we don't see it. Part 2, you can go in and edit it, but once you've hit submit, that's it. You can't go back in and edit it. So make sure you've got the application form sorted in Part 2 before you do submit it. As I say, I do mine in Word first. I'll go and have a look, see what's required, do it in Word, and then copy and paste it. It's quite often the easiest way to do it. But any problems, please let us know, and we'll help you out. There is a question there, actually, how is Northern Ireland law covered within the OEP? Can I ask Ray or Kate to answer that, please?
Yeah, I think I covered that one. We've got Northern Ireland qualified lawyers. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay, fabulous. Right. In that case, just to reiterate, closing deadline is 23:55 on the 28th of January. Further questions can be directed to recruitment@theoep.org.uk. And thank you very much for joining today. I hope you've managed to take something away that will help you with your application, and we look forward to receiving them. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.